Born near Mumbai, India, before moving to Surrey, British Columbia, with her family, friends said she was warm and intelligent, ambitious and determined, and a student with dreams of becoming a doctor. Additionally, she was very creative and was already making an impact in the entertainment industry while studying health and science. She often managed to secure modeling and acting gigs. She landed a role in the movie Diary of a Wimpy Kid in 2010 and appeared in an episode of The Secret Circle, which was airing on the CW. She was already signed with a modeling agency and was ecstatic when she found out she was a finalist in the search for Central City models. Her agency's boss said she was super smart, very articulate, highly focused, and probably one of the nicest people you could ever meet. She had a spot at Simon Fraser University and lived at home with her family, commuting back and forth. She hoped to get into medical school after finishing, but she also told friends that she was enjoying her acting career so much that she didn't want to dismiss it as a long-term career. It's safe to say that for someone so young, she was busy but embracing all the challenges and opportunities that came her way, balancing everything quite well. Maple had a 4-year on and off relationship with Gajinder Dhaliwal, known to everyone as Gary, but the relationship finally came to an end in 2011 when Maple found out he had cheated on her. She was devastated by the betrayal but had plenty to keep her occupied, focusing on her work and her important studies. On the night of September 27, 2011, Maple left her family home and went to the campus library with a friend. They had a late-night study session planned and met up with a few more people there. As the hours passed into the early morning, they all decided to call it a night. Maple said goodbye to her friends and went to her car, which was on the 3rd floor of the parking lot. Just minutes past 1 a.m., a resident across the street heard 7 loud, rapid gunshots. He rushed to the window and saw a white Dodge Charger speeding away. More people ran out onto the street and called 911. Meanwhile, Maple lay on the ground near her car, surrounded by blood. She had been shot 5 times with 3 bullets in her abdomen, and her head was covered in knife wounds and cut marks. A large, bloody kitchen knife was nearby. She was still alive, but barely. Authorities, who had already received dozens of calls about the gunshots, arrived at the scene within minutes. They worked on Maple enough to ensure she was stable and rushed her to the local hospital. However, her injuries were too severe, and she died a few hours later.
Shots fired here at this area on the 3rd floor of this parkade. Uniformed officers attended, and they did locate an adult female, 19 years of age, located here behind me, suffering from what can only be described as significant and multiple gunshot wounds. Those 2 uniformed officers did everything they could in an effort to save this young lady's life while they waited for AHS to attend. We understand the sensitivity here in regards to what the community is feeling and where this occurred, how it may have occurred, and whether there's a link specifically to the SFU campus here. I can confirm that yes, there is a link to the SFU campus, and that this 19-year-old girl was an active student here at this campus.
Such a frenzied attack became even more shocking as it occurred in a public, open location, despite it being a fairly busy time of day. It was evident from the cameras around the campus that many students were doing exactly what Maple was doing that night. However, despite the number of people around, there wasn't a single witness on the 3rd floor of the parking lot.
Daughter said she can't do anything wrong. So the people who saw everything, please help us for justice.
Fear spread across the university campus, and the next day, 50 police officers were working on the case. Investigators kept their cards close to their chest, although they didn't have as much information as they would have liked. They said they didn't know whether the attack was random or targeted. Maple's wallet was found next to her, and nothing had been stolen, which seemed to rule out a robbery. They also said it seemed unlikely that the shooting was related to gang violence, but they couldn't state that with absolute certainty. They tried to reassure the students, saying they were still safe on campus. One detective said, apart from the fact that this homicide appears to have occurred adjacent to Simon Fraser campus, we do not think that the student body and the leadership of Simon Fraser University campus need to be unduly alarmed.
Dozens of RCMP officers are investigating yesterday's shocking shooting of a 19-year-old SFU student.
Well, Tony, 40 to 50 officers are now on the case here at SFU, a case that some say is hitting investigators very hard. Many of them have daughters, and that's motivating them to find the killer. Grief is the focus at Maple Batalia's family home today, although no doubt there are many questions. Why would someone shoot the young woman several times as she made her way to her car after a late night of studying?
Who would be capable of killing such a beautiful young 19-year-old girl in the prime of her life? Did this 19-year-old young woman know her attacker? Or was there somebody involved in regards to this that she knew that assisted in this homicide? We don't have those answers.
Students are more careful since the killing, sticking closer together.
So we kind of walk together. But ever since this incident, we felt like we are more inclined to do so now.
With tears in their eyes, the university spokesperson stated that they were offering counseling to anyone who felt they needed it for as long as necessary. Vigils were held and the community shared their grief together.
Makes you angry in a way that she was just footsteps away from her car. It was just right there, and it just makes you it's like a big shock.
The Integrated Homicide Investigation Team continues to investigate tips in this murder case, but so far no one has been arrested. Officers know there are still people out there in the community who have vital information, and they're pleading with them to come forward.
Just help us get our justice that we deserve. And no daughter, no sister, deserves to go through what my sister went through. She was innocent. And for you to stay quiet, it's not the right thing.
Maple's family said they could only think of one person who might have a motive to harm her 20-year-old ex-boyfriend, Gary. But going so far as to kill her was something they found hard to conceive. After an on and off relationship since high school, the young couple had their share of problems, but after their relationship ended in the fall of 2011, Gary's behavior took a particularly dark turn. Maple's family told the police that a disturbing pattern of stalking and harassment began between mid-August and the end of September 2011. Gary made over 2,000 calls to Maple and sent even more text messages, with as many as 300 messages in a single night when she was at a nightclub with a friend. He started following her and had his friends follow her, keeping tabs on where she was and who she was with. He spat at one of Maple's friends outside a nightclub and assaulted another friend after learning that he and Maple were having coffee together. When Maple tried to intervene, he pushed her to the ground. She called the police, he was arrested, and he received a no-contact order as well as an assault charge. The friend whom Gary assaulted was one of the individuals with Maple in the library that night. However, with no witnesses and currently no evidence placing him on campus that night, the police had little to investigate. Nevertheless, they had a crucial piece of evidence. A resident who looked out their window provided a perfect description of what they believed was the getaway car. He saw it speeding away around 1:04 a.m. and could identify the street it headed toward, though he couldn't make out the license plate. Using the cameras, they were able to track the car's path, and fortunately, the university was well covered with nearly 100 high-quality cameras. They began releasing portions of the footage and asked anyone in the images to provide any information, no matter how small. Reviewing the rest of the videos, detectives could easily identify Maple in the library with her friends, smiling and laughing as they worked. It didn't appear that anyone was watching or following her, and Maple seemed comfortable with where she was and who she was with. Just before 1 a.m., Maple and her 3 friends left the library together. Although there was no audio, everything still seemed normal and Maple appeared content walking with them. The university team managed to identify everyone she was with that night, and all willingly provided statements. Police were relieved to exclude them as suspects. It seemed like they had all separated only minutes before she was shot. The camera on the 3rd floor of the parking lot was programmed to scan the area every few minutes, but frustratingly, the moment Maple entered the floor, the camera cut to another location. However, they could see the same white car entering the parking lot shortly after 8 p.m. and circling for a while before parking. When it finally did, Maple and her friend entered the frame. It was evident that whoever was in the car knew Maple would be there that night and was tracking her every move. This wasn't someone who just happened to be in the right place at the right time and took the opportunity. It was a carefully planned and meticulous murder.
Begin with an emotional vigil in Surrey tonight. More than 100 people held an event to remember Maple Batalia. It's been a year since she was shot to death, but no one has been arrested.
We know that in a year's time, people will talk. We believe that people have talked about this murder and that may have more information than what they initially had in the beginning stages, and we want those people to come forward, the people that have the intimate knowledge about her homicide.
We always love our angel. He never changed.
And for that person to be out there and be free, and my sister will never come back, it's just not right.
It was now 2012, and the police were still diligently working on Maple's case, but they simply didn't have enough evidence to make any arrests. For months, the team took on the arduous task of cross-referencing everyone who owned or rented the same model of car in the area, interviewing people, and slowly eliminating suspects. Finally, in late 2012, they made a breakthrough. The name Gersamar Betty was linked to one of the cars. He was a close friend of Gary's and also a student at the university. He had rented a white Dodge Charger on September 25, 2011, and returned it shortly after the 28th. When he picked up the car, he was accompanied by none other than Gary. Gersamar, 21 years old, had also taken the vehicle to a car wash hours after Maple's shooting. The police managed to locate the car, and despite the cleaning, they found an empty shell casing under the hood that matched the casings found at the crime scene. On December 1, 2012, more than a year after Maple's death, authorities announced that they had made not one, but 2 arrests.
Maple Batalia was gunned down on a university campus in September 2011, and since then, she, her family, and friends have appealed to the public to help find her killers. Now, police have arrested her ex-boyfriend and another man. The CBC's Dan Burrett has that story.
Maple Batalia's father, Harry, vowed to wear black until he received justice for his daughter's murder. His family joined him in black and a little closer to justice, now that 2 men have been charged in the death of their daughter and sister.
This isn't an easy day for us. It's very bittersweet, but although we can't bring Maple back, we're happy to see that the people that are responsible for this are now going to suffer the consequences.
I can tell you that I knew this day would come. I knew that to be true because I know that every day we commit to ensuring that justice and the rule of law prevails.
Maple's ex-boyfriend, Gary, was charged with first-degree murder, while his friend Gersamar was arrested and charged with second-degree murder and being an accessory after the fact. Gersamar had been following Maple's car for days before the murder, helped Gary flee the scene, had the vehicle washed, and provided him with an alibi for months. The murder weapon was never found. Gary was enraged because Maple was moving on without him, socializing and achieving success. His life no longer included her, and for someone who was already jealous, insecure, and possessive, he felt that if he couldn't have her, no one could. Maple's family said he believed he could impose the relationship on her and take away her choice to leave, eventually taking her life in the process.
And she's very happy when she break up with him. It's hard, but she said, I try my best, no more. Maple friend Kiran, she told me, Gary kill Maple, make a buy, but she didn't. Then the same time I call Gary mom, because she is my friend, make a your dog kill my daughter. That's why I have message to people. If your son or daughter controlling someone, please help.
It was nearly 2.5 years ago when 19-year-old Maple Batalia was fatally gunned down in Surrey. Her ex-boyfriend has now been ordered to stand trial.
Both men appeared in court, still remaining quiet, and both pleading not guilty. They were to be tried together, and 4 long years would pass as the trial got pushed back and delayed time and time again.
It's too much hard for us. A long wait. It's gone more than 4.5 years now. And now, every day you think, what will happen?
Both men appeared in court, remaining silent, and both pleaded not guilty. They would be tried together, and 4 long years passed as the trial was repeatedly postponed. Before the trial began in 2016, Gary, then 26 years old, changed his strategy. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 21 years. The judge could choose a period between 10 and 25 years, and the prosecutor stated that it was likely the highest sentence ever given to someone convicted of killing one person, as opposed to multiple individuals. Gursamar Betty, then 27 years old, was subsequently found not guilty of second-degree murder, but was convicted of being an accessory after the fact. He was sentenced to 22 months in prison, but 6 months before the completion of his scheduled sentence, he was released early. Maple's sister said the 18-month sentence was a slap in the face to our family. He had the audacity to remain silent even when the sentence was pronounced. He smiled at our family, smiled at the people there as if to say he got away with it. It took 5 years to obtain some form of justice for Maple and her family, and the devastating consequences of her death are still felt in the Surrey area to this day. A documentary about Maple was released in 2017 and garnered multiple awards at major festivals. The director, Jocelyn Kaur, wanted the film to serve as a memorial to her, but also as a way to highlight the issue of domestic violence. The Maple Batalia Memorial Scholarship for the Arts was established, providing an annual entry for a Canadian South Asian female student beginning her journey into the world of art and design. Maple, at just 19 years old, was already achieving so much, and with her determination and drive, there's no doubt she would have accomplished many more incredible things, no matter which career path she chose. One of Maple's friends reiterated this and described her death as if someone had trampled on a flower before it could bloom. Her father referred to her as his most precious jewel and said that his life now feels completely pointless. "We're left with nothing," he said. "We've lost our angel and she won't come back." He stated that even though Maple was the youngest in the family, she was always the one who held everyone together.